Alright, let's get back into it. Back to farming Lewis's content for more content. This is, as you can see, another Enigma game. I really like the Enigma matchup. It is a very skill testing matchup, and I think it does a good job of showcasing individual player skill, as opposed to just, oh look, I high rolled them and I got lucky, which is like definitely something that Levi can do. Definitely one of our strengths, but the more skill testing matchups really separate the good players from the bad. So right away, this Enigma makes a mistake. They create the Spectral Shield, and then they actually attack it. So we get to fill our graveyard on turn 0, which is great. And you look at keeping the send packing to send on their next turn, which is fine. I don't hate it. But ultimately, what I see here is Red Unworldly is a fine Arsenal target. It's not the best. It's not the worst. But my thoughts here, which could be right, could be wrong. I actually want to block with these 2 cards at minimum, because this is insane, right? If we can get these 2 in, Arsenal the Unworldly, and then like maybe next turn block with 1 more card. Keep 2 cards in hand, plus keep 2 blues and a Shadow Realm in hand, and block with another 6. Suddenly we have like a obviously 3 card, but a 3 card 15, right? Because we've got whatever random 6s in here. We got a blue into Shadow Realm, right? Shadow Realm into Swing Big, guaranteed. So again, we're looking to play for those highs of Levi's capabilities. We're not looking for, oh hey look, I can do this thing and this is good. We're looking for, hey, I can play to the fact that they've balanced the absolute nutter butters that are Levi's cards with the fact that sometimes the hero just kills herself. So if we play more to that absolute ceiling, we're going to get paid off more. Additionally, right, they're sending this for 4. If they have another attack, right? Let's say they send a CNC, they send a Weakest Link. CNC, we block with the Unworldly, we take 3, and we move on with our lives. If they send Weakest Link, we block 3, they get an Arsenal, and we get another 6 in Graveyard, which means that actually, if they send Weakest Link, I would be inclined to not block with this, just because drawing a Shadow Realm off the top would immediately guaranteed to be a hit. And like, yeah, we took 6 damage and we're at 34, but we also again just send free damage, right? That is a 3 card 15, which is significantly higher than their 4 card 10, putting us significantly over 8. So here I would have blocked with these 2. Yes, send packing is nice, but I would rather have the cards in Graveyard, and as we see later on, you run into these issues of, oh hey, I have a Banisher, but I don't have enough cards in Graveyard. Early game, we want cards in Graveyard. We want to get as many cards in Graveyard as possible without like horribly diluting the quality of our Graveyard. So I think that when you come in here and you block with just the Swing Big, leak 1, and then they pass, right? You threw away that opportunity to have a +1, right? So here, even if you block with the Unworldly, right? Let's say that you don't have the Unworldly that's in here. You still have 2 cards in your Graveyard, and now you send packing Arsenal Swing Big, and you have all 3 cards in here that you need so that you can have a banish play, as opposed to, now you're only going to have 2 cards and you're relying on them to give you more cards. But like, if you send packing and this card is valuable, they're not going to keep a larger hand. Now they're going to send maybe 1 attack at you, and you're going to be able to block with like 1 card or 2 cards, and you're priced into this situation where you have to block with more cards to get a functional Graveyard, as opposed to turn 0, your blocks are free, right? You're getting them back. So I personally disagree with just the blocking the Swing Big. Like I said, I think you block with both. But here you send the send packing, and you actually hit a card that they really want, not only really want to defend, but you catch them with a super awkward hand. of 2 hold the lines and a Restless Coalescence to defend their CNC, which is huge, right? So big plays, keeping the send packing definitely paid off. And then their follow-up is Spectral Shield for 4, which of course we know they have a CNC. We just declare no blocks on, that's perfectly fine. Into Dissolve Reality, and the Dissolve Reality is annoying. They IP1 themselves, but here it puts you in an awkward position where you know for a fact, we know that this is CNC. There's no, either this is CNC or one of these is this one is CNC. Odds are though, this is CNC. So we don't want to arsenal this, and in fact, if we want to have a good turn, we're looking to claw by pitching these 2. Arsenal Boneyard or Arsenal the Dread, right? Pitch this one, and then one of these 2, Arsenal the other one. Don't Arsenal the Tearlim. We want to use Tearlim. We know for a fact they have CNC. If you put Tearlim here, you're now just putting yourself in a position where you have to go, oh, gee, what do I, like, do I defend the Tearlim? Do I not? So you just you're going to take a bunch of extra damage because you know that you have to defend this power card. And that's annoying. Whereas, right, they send, 4 into another Spectra, or into another ward, into CNC, and you can just say, my hand is perfectly functional without this arsenal. I'm going to value block instead of being priced into defending this power card, and you're in a much better position. Additionally, Tearlim is a sketchier card to arsenal just because we have so many non-attack. I guess not so many, but like we have more non-attacks in this version than we do in it in other versions, and so it's just really awkward to have this non-attack that relies on you drawing a functional brute hand, and like that's not my experience with this list. It could be your experience with this list, but I definitely see a lot more all non-attack or all non-6 hands with the recursion list than I do with other versions of the list. My final thoughts on the turn: you can pitch this Tearlim. You don't have to keep it, and in fact I think that pitching like Endless Tearlim, Arsenal Boneyard, Keep Dread is a good setup, because we have 6 different ways to shuffle our deck. Cards you pitch, they'll come back. You will see them faster in this list than you will in many other lists, because you don't have to wait for second cycle. You play Call the Grave, you play Shadow of Blasphemous, and you get a search, and you get a shuffle. Additionally, we don't know what this Ponder will give us, so this is all theoretical. This is all playing off what we have on board. You opt to go for the Claw by pitching 2 cards, pitching 2 of the reds, arsenaling the Tearlim, and then we see the Shadow Realm Horror, right? So here I have 2 cards in graveyard. I know that they're send packing and swing big. I'm never arsenaling this card. Because even if I go blue, right? Even if I draw 2 blues, we arsenal this, we draw 2 blues. Our hand now becomes, they don't have their ward. Our hand becomes take a little bit of damage, value block, right? Value block with a blue if it's a non-6, if it's a 6 on CNC, right? Or we can opt to just say no blocks, take another 6, right? Go to 29. And even though it's 29 to 38, we're down by 13 life. We theoretically have a power blue in hand. Even if it's just like a blue dread, we can park an arsenal, and we can go pitch Tearlim to send Shadow Realm into swing big or send packing, generally swing big, arsenal a good blue. And that sets us up to take cards away from them, try to gain more tempo back, as opposed to arsenaling Terra Limb, and now you have red and red. And another thing that I've experienced with this list is drawing a lot of all red hands. I have definitely drawn more all red hands with this list than I have with other lists. Again, may not be your experience, but when I have that kind of experience, I'm going to continue to play around it. Could be right, could be wrong, I don't know. So you arsenal the Terra Limb here, and now you know that they have CNC. So this hand does very little if we have to defend this arsenal, right? We have to give 2 blocks. We have to give 2 of these cards. These are definitely the 2 cards to block with. But now what does this hand do, right? We have to block for 6 or give Husk on like turn 3. We give Husk on turn 3. That's not a good idea. And then we waste one of our best cards. So this Terra Limb, this decision to arsenal Terra Limb, not even because I've seen the rest of the video, just looking at this hand, I keep the Terra Limb in hand. I'm not blocking with it anyway. When I see the Shadow Realm, I keep my blue so that I can always go Shadow Realm into another card. Right here, if we draw these 2 and we have the Dread in Arsenal instead of the Shadow Realm, here I would say no blocks on anything. Like, I would take a bunch of damage, obviously. I would take, 3, 6. I would take like 12 damage, bringing me to 23. But the play would be allow the Dread to die, right? So this Dread would go in the graveyard, and then I have Shadow Realm for 7 into Beast Within for into Pitch Beast Within, rather. Shadow Realm for 7 into Pitch Beast Within for Swing Big for 8. Right, so that's 15 damage, and yeah, we're down by about 15 life, but now they don't want to go to life parity, right? They're going to give us cards to block, especially if they've established a ward. And I think they established a Mirror Guy on this turn, which is like even better for us because they are slightly incentivized to protect it, just because it represents with Tunic, right? Here they can just Tunic and send Mirror Guy as a 1 card 4, or as a 0 card 4. So they're incentivized to protect it. And 15 damage is really difficult for them to protect against. So here, I think that arsenaling the Dread Screamer would have gotten you a lot more percentage points in this game, but it is not the end of the world. And then they do the levels, playing Mirror Guy, so it gains go again and draw a card, and then they send the Mirror Guy, and then they send the CNC, and then they arsenal a random card. And now what could have been a 15 damage turn, yes, you are plus 6 life, so we could be at 22. But in the early phase of the game, we can take damage to send a lot more damage. So I would be at 22, but I would be threatening them with a meaningful amount of damage. Especially after I see them establish this Mirror Guy. Yes, it's not a Chi Mirror Guy, and I think you make a good read of the fact that it's not the most important thing to get off the board. It is still a Mirror Guy at the end of the day, right? It's still a 1 resource for damage, and we do want that off the board because the way that either player wins the game is just by getting incremental value, by getting overrate value using fewer cards from hand. And so that's our goal. Our goal is to get their more powerful wards off the board, and sending 15 damage does that even if we take more damage in the short term, because we should theoretically recoup that in the long term. And then you're again sitting on this Terra Limb, which, as I mentioned earlier, isn't the best if you draw into an all non-6 hand, and look at that, we drew into an all non-6 hand. I would rather have the Boneyard, right? So on the turn that I suggested, we go... Where's this full hand? We would lose our arsenal, but we would have the Terra Limb here. We would have our Boneyard in arsenal, and because there are more non-6s in the list than in other lists, keeping a 6 in Arsenal to have something to do is very, very, very important. And it also opens us up to the opportunity to go with this really awkward hand. Like, let's say that this is a Boneyard instead of a Tearlim. Here, we can easily go block, block, and like pitch this to send the Boneyard, clear out our graveyard a little bit, and then look to Arsenal the Tearlim because it's honestly just the best Arsenal card. We don't have the graveyard to go Dread into Boneyard, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would say just block with the Unworldly, go Dread into Boneyard, Arsenal Tearlim. So arsenaling that Tearlim 2 turns ago has really just put us in a lot of very awkward positions. And another thing about Tearlim, in this list, we're on 3. It's not like, we're never going to see another Tearlim. We will see another Tearlim. So taking the 2 here is correct. Who cares about 2 vanilla damage? We do need to play around a weakest link, which you correctly identify. Turns out they don't have it. They just have another Dissolve Reality. Or they just have a Dissolve Reality, which is annoying. This is the second one they've seen. The first one did a lot of work because we were relying on that Swing Big to be the 3rd card in Graveyard instead of just blocking more early. This one actually helps us out a little bit because we don't want that Tearlim here. It was really messing with us. So they actually really helped us out here. With this hand, the best decision is pitch the Dread to send Deadwood, and you don't care what you hit. You're just looking to get a card in discard. Unworldly's fine. You can draw like a red Graveling or a Shadow, or you can draw a Graveling or a Shadow or something like that, and then just go like Unworldly into 2 cost that doesn't banish off a blue. Right, that's fine. Obviously, if we Arsenal Tearlim, hopefully we see a hand. Right, it is the best card to Arsenal out of this hand. Hopefully we see a hand that uses it. Another option is roll Scabs. If you miss, it sucks. It's really bad. But if you get 2 AP, you can go like pitch this to Claw into pitch this to Deadwood and hope you don't discard the Unworldly, or like hope if you do discard the Unworldly, like you get a better card for it. I'm not a fan of Scabskin Leathers on this turn, of rolling Scabs on this turn. I think that your best bet is sending Deadwood, accepting that you're probably going to lose one of these, and just going, okay, Ponder, fix this absurdity that has become my life. So here, you do send the Deadwood. You hit the Unworldly, so we lose 2 life, that's fine. But we do see Shadow of Blasphemfet, which is very nice. I want to Arsenal this card, just because it's like what the deck's built around. And yeah, we take 2 from Blood Debt, who cares? Does not matter. And then we see the Ponder is a Ghostly. No thoughts, head empty. Shadow goes in here. It's not a decision. You want to block with the Ghostly, you want it in here, you don't want to play it. And then we're not Arsenaling Tearlim. Remember, if we have a choice, we want a quality attack in Arsenal over a Tearlim because we just don't need the extra non-attacks. We're going to draw plenty of those. So going into this turn, this is an unfortunate blocking hand, but we can actually make something good out of it. So when I see this hand, my initial thoughts are I'm going to block with the Ghostly because I have 1 miss in here. It's Shadow Realm, Swing Big, right? Shadow Realm, Swing Big, Unworldly, and Deadwood. Yeah, Shadow Realm, Swing Big, Unworldly, and Deadwood. So I'll have 2 misses in here. The blue Dread can't miss. And then I would be looking to send the Shadow of Blasphemfet off the Deep Rooted, and that's only 10 damage. But it does theoretically get Ghostly, both Ghostly and Howl in our banish and turn off Blood Debt, which is exactly where we want to be. Deep Rooted Evil going back into the deck is whatever. We don't really care. We can search it out with another Shadow of Blasphemous or with a Call to the Grave. Here you opt to block the 6 on the CNC, defending the Shadow of Blasmafet, which is fine. I have no qualms with this. I think it's a good use of the hand, given that like the rest of our turns weren't that great. And then Shadow of Blasmafet just pops off super hard. It hits your Deep Rooted Evil, and then you get to pull the Howl out of deck, which is exactly where we want it. We take 3 Blood Debt, but who cares? Arsenaling the blue Unworldly is a little unfortunate, but we don't have a choice. Theoretically, you could roll Scabskins, but I'm not rolling Scabskins here. There's no point to it. And then here, they send Weakest Link. Given this hand with the Unworldly and Arsenal, I am incentivized to just block with Husk. I'm just blocking with Husk here because what we do is we Unworldly, right? And even if Unworldly does not get us the 3 extra cards we need, we still go Unworldly into Graveling, and I would actually pitch the Shadow here. Unworldly into Graveling, Arsenal Doomsday. Because Doomsday is going to be online this turn or next turn. If it's online this turn, that's incredible. We're super happy. If it's online next turn, that's fine. We still have access to the Blasmafet, which is something that they must answer. They must give cards for, and they must take damage for it in order to answer. And so we're happy with that. You do a good job of noticing that they have Tunic on 3, and they have a resource floating, so they might have a Pummel. If I'm playing around Pummel, I give Graveling plus Husk. I take 1, right? But what ends up happening is, sure, we lose Doomsday, not that we end up using it in this game anyway. We lose Doomsday, we fall to 15, and that gives us the option to go Blasmafet if we need to, right? We still have this hand, we still have this hand right here. Actually, I would discard this to the Pummel, and I would just claw, take some Blood Debt, think about flipping to Blasmafet. I probably wouldn't in this game, just because the games go way too long and we want to get advantage out of the recursion pieces. But with the way they've been playing, I don't expect them to be on Pummel, and if they are on 1, they have exactly 1. So like, if they have exactly 1 here, that's unfortunate, but it's the life we end up leading. Alternatively, what you can do if you're worried about Pummel is block here, give the 2 block on Scabs. So now we're taking 2 damage from Blood Debt. If they strip our entire hand, we get to keep Husk around for another turn. But as I said, I'm not playing around Pummel here. I'm saying they just have a random value card that they're putting in Arsenal, and if I get blown out, I get blown out. So on this turn, you identify a little bit too late that you could theoretically Doomsday. You have, if this is in Banish, right, you hit 2 Blood Debt cards and a Swing Big. So Swing Big is the only, you have 1 non-Blood Debt in Graveyard. You have 9 cards in Graveyard before you play the Howl from Beyond. The odds are incredibly good, right? So you have 1 out of 10. You have a 10% chance to not get, or I guess this is also so that's 2 out of 10. You have a 2 out of 10 chance to not go up to 6 Blood Debt. You play the Howl first, so you play the Bellow first. You play the Unworldly Bellow first, and then you play the Howl if you do not hit, right? Because here, if you're at 3 blood debt, you need to hit all 3. The odds of that are 1/5 into 1/9. So that's 1/45. The odds of you... I guess it's 1/5. So you have a 20% chance to not turn on Plasma Fet this turn. But you still have the resources to do Unworldly into Hal, and I think you identified this line a little bit too late. And theoretically, there's still a whirl. Oh no, there is no whirl because you're only in 3. So going down to 2, up to 5, you can't get there. So that's a missequencing, because honestly, there I would play Doomsday. I would swing for 6, and actually no, I wouldn't. I would play Doomsday, send Shadow, because we would have 2 floating, right? We would not play the Hal. Send Shadow, and yes, they can still like block with 2 cards, send a 6 at Plasma Fet, and we cry about it. But I still want to put that onus on them. Doomsday is such a powerful card that they might, and honestly, if they do that, they're not threatening us. We get to keep a 4-card hand. So I'm going to put the onus on them to defend themselves and get rid of the Plasma Fet, because yeah, there's a lot of games where Plasma Fet only spends 1 turn on the board, right? You play it, your opponent immediately kills it because it's so high value. But even there, most decks have to give you almost their entire turn to kill Plasma Fet, which means that you now have full tempo. And while this list is worse at using tempo than other lists, it's still a good thing for us to gain tempo. And one of the things that I didn't emphasize here, they do show that they have the pummel, so I definitely would have gotten blown out by it if they had it, but I'm also okay with that, because this turn that we had is like, it's fine, it's not impressive, and I would still have the Husk around for this turn. Here they dissolve reality again, which hits the Shadow of Plasma Fet. That's not like a huge thing. Obviously, we would want the Shadow in graveyard and Arsenal because we drew the Blood Rush, but it's not the end of the world. It's not as big as that first one, which hit the swing big, which prevented us from getting 3 cards in graveyard was. I don't think I saw any issues on this turn cycle. No blocks here. Oh, you blocked. Oh, never mind. You blocked here. Don't block here. Don't block here at all. We fall to 8. It's fine. You block here? Oh yeah, no blocks. Correct. Send a Blood Rush. You got a little cucked on your Blood Rush, not gonna lie. With this hand, I would Unworldly. I think you send this line Unworldly into Swing Big just to get as much damage out of this as possible. Theoretically, you could pitch the Unworldly to send Endless Maw and just send 11, but Unworldly into Swing Big is the correct play. You correctly identified that. Where's the end of the deliberation? And it also just gets us another arsenal with the Ponder. Dissolve Reality is really good into us because our random arsenals aren't that good. We are very paid out. We do get an Endless Maw, which is huge. We love putting Endless Maw on Arsenal. And then this hand is a really good hand, honestly. I am incentivized even here, right? They have 2 cards in hand, so it's going to be like 2 into maybe something. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 misses. We have 4 misses in our graveyard out of 10. So that's 2/5 times, what is that? 1/3 times, what's that, 4/8, so 1/2. So we have a 1 out of 15 plus 3 times 2/5 into, oh yeah, it's the same, so it's just 4, so it's 4 out of 15, so it's just under a quarter, just over a quarter of the time Shadow Realm does not gain go again, which is unfortunate. But I think in this position, we have to play around that, and especially if their turn is going to be just like 2 into Passing Mirage, which I don't know why they have this in their list against us. Like here, we go Shadow Realm. We look to go Shadow Realm into Endless Maw. I don't remember exactly what you did on this turn cycle, but that's what I look at here, especially if I'm only taking 2, because this is our opportunity to claw back. Theoretically, we can do like Shadow Realm into Shadow, and actually I think I like Shadow Realm into Shadow better. It's 3 less damage, but we want to keep the Endless Maw in Grave, and use the Shadow to... Oh no, we have the Deep Rooted Evil, yeah. I would rather see the Shadow out of the deck. Here, oh, that's right. Here you go for the Scabskin Leathers. There's genuinely no reason to go for Scabskin Leathers here. It adds another miss, which you end up doing if you miss. And I'm okay just sending 7 or sending 9, right? Because here, if you don't want to take the risk, you send 9. You Arsenal the Shadow, and you have this and this in hand. I really heavily dislike rolling the Scabs here just because you're good enough on Shadow to hit that I'm willing to just send Shadow, and if I miss, it's fine. So I personally dislike that play, and obviously it does cost us the Gamblers, so we have an extra miss. So now we're at, what is that? 5 misses out of 11? Yeah. Ultimately, you end up going for Howl into Endless Maw, pitching, Howl into Shadow Realm, and you get paid out super lucky here. I think the odds of that are pretty low. We have 1/2 times, what is that, 5/11ths times 2/5. So we have a 9.1% chance. Because this cancels out, so we're left with 1/11. So you have a 9.1% chance to hit all 3. You get paid out, and obviously we can make a huge turn of it, but I think that if you want to send Howl, you go Howl into Endless Maw, look to Arsenal the Shadow. But yeah, getting paid out here is a big swing for you, pun intended, because it brings them back to life, but a lot closer to life parity. Here they attack with the Spectral Shield. I would have given the Unworldly and just said I'm going to overpitch to send the Endless Maw and Arsenal Blood Rush. There is a world, and I think you take this line where we just take the 1, we go to 9, and we say, here's 2 chances to clear my graveyard. That sends 12. It's up to you. If you feel like you need to be more defensive, block with the Unworldly. If you don't feel like you need to be more defensive, just take the 1 and get the +2 value instead of the +1 value off the Unworldly. This sets us up for our second Blood Rush of the game, and here, this is unpoppable. You recognize that. You opt to take the, 2 into nothing, right? Right, 2 into 2. Is that what they do? I would not have given the Scabskins block here. I would save it in case we need to like block with Call the Grave plus a 3. And then we get that extra 1 from Scabskins. Call the Grave sending Beast Within here, I disagree with. We know we have a Banisher right here, right? So there's no reason to put the Call of the Grave into the Banish. Like, the only reason we do that is if we're afraid that our hand can't turn off Blood Debt. But our hand can turn... Oh, no, we don't have the Banisher. We have Blood Rush. Never mind. Yeah, I still don't like it. I think that because we have Spoiled Skull up and we have a great Banish Zone, we pitch the Call of the Grave, and then we just send Blood Rush, so we have 2 floating, and we're guaranteed to have a minimum of another 4 resources, so like minimum 6-7 resources to work with on our turn. Here, doing this, you kind of have to hope to hit a blue, and you hit a red, right? So now you Blood Rush here, and you pitch the Beast Within. Like, obviously you took some damage off Beast Within. I don't pitch the Beast Within here. I pitch the Wrecker Omp, and I say, if it hits Beast Within and I take a bunch of damage, that's unfortunate, but I need the extra resources, right? This is a 7 life deficit. We're super low. At this point, they should be playing to just send lean hands and just do just a little bit of damage and really just put us in an awkward spot. So I'm looking to have as big of a Blood Rush turn as possible here to really rip things back to us. If I don't have to commit Spoiled Skull, I won't. If I do have to commit it, I will. But I'm really looking to just absolutely mess them up here. So on this turn, it's another kind of sequencing nightmare. You send Claw, and then you say, wait a minute, hold on a second, I can Spoiled Skull. If you think there's a chance that you Spoiled Skull, which I would not have on this turn, Blood Debt's already turned off, I would have done Claw into actually going back here, I did want to make a comment about this. With this hand, we have one floating. I would have gone Claw into pitch this for Claw, pitch this for Dread, use the one floating to send Boneyard, or if you want to Arsenal the Boneyard, you use the one floating to send Ghostly. But I definitely would have gone. I would have taken the line of Dread Screamer because it is we have the resources for Claw, Dread, Boneyard, which is more worth it because our graveyard is a hot mess right now. But you opt to send Claw, and then you opt to use Spoiled Skull, which gets you the other Blood Rush, which is nice. But now imagine if we had sent Claw with that other Blood Rush as opposed to Claw for 5 and a Claw for 7. But again, I would not have used my Spoiled Skull on this turn. A single Blood Rush is still good enough, especially if we're able to do like 5 into... If we take pitching the Dread Screamer line, it's 5 into 5 into... So that's a normal 18 damage Blood Rush. Or if we use the Dread Screamer line, it's 5 into 6 into 8, which is a 19 damage Blood Rush turn. Like, obviously we don't get to use our second Claw, but who cares? So I'm happy with a 19 damage Blood Rush turn when they're at 11. Because it means that they're effectively 12, so they have to give us 8 block from everything else, which means that they're losing 3 cards in hand. They have a 2-card hand, and we still have Skull up. So here, you send the second Blood Rush. You Claw before you Dread Screamer. I understand why you did that. But if I remember correctly, actually I don't remember your graveyard. Let's pull up your graveyard. Where's your graveyard? Don't remember exactly where you pull up your graveyard on this turn. And if you didn't pull up your... Okay, here's your graveyard. Wonderful. So we have... Oh, this is your Banish. Where's your graveyard? If you didn't pull up your graveyard on this turn, you have definitely made a mistake. Because when we're looking at a turn like this, we need to know exactly what we're working with here. Especially after we call, like we need to know what the graveyard state is, because we draw the Dread Screamer. We need to know exactly how many hits and misses we're working with here. I want to say you're on 5 and 5. But I'm not 100% sure. Here, let's do this. I forget if you pull up your graveyard or not. But if we're on 5 and 5, you're pretty free to send the Dread. And then when you do your second Blood Rush, you draw another dread. I want to say you're on 6 and 6. So assuming you're on 6 and 6, that's 1/2 chance to miss times 5 out of 11 times 2 out of 5. Where have we seen this before? Right, because this is 6 out of 12, 5 out of 11, 4 out of 10. You have, again, a 9.1% chance to miss. I would send the dread into Boneyard. You're not going more than 2 wide with this hand, unless you roll scabs, but without Gambler's Gloves, I'm not rolling scabs here. So, I mean, like 25, another 20 damage is very nice, especially when they're at 9. And I think you do end up killing them off this. So this loses 3 damage, so we're still sending another 17, which they can theoretically block. They end up not having the ability to block all of it, and they just die. But I think that not using, right, just saying like, oh yeah, sending the Spoiled Skull for the extra Blood Rush was great. I think that's a little results based, because we don't know that we're going to get that extra Blood Rush, and like even if we get the extra banish, we still have Blood Rush turned off. We don't need the go again. We don't really have the resources for the extra go again. We want to save that for next turn, right? We want to make it so we can optimize a next turn, right? So here we go down to 1 resource in pool. We choose the classic dread Shadow Realm, as we should. If we hit dread, right, we're doing 6 into claw. Oh, I guess, yeah, okay. So that does give us an extra value. So I guess we would gain 8 value off this. Shadow Realm is a little riskier. I guess I learned something. I still would have saved the Spoiled Skull for next turn, just because my turn is good enough that they can't realistically threaten me all that hard, and then I can fall back on Spoiled Skull on the next turn. But I suppose I learned something from this. Anyway, have a good day.